Welcome to our little explanation on how to fill out your guys' OJT forms. I'm going to try to make this as quick and simple as possible. So for all my new students, this is how we're going to do this. For my old students that need a reminder, we're going to go ahead and walk through it one more time. So I have right here a digital copy of a barbering OJT form. You guys can find these on Google Classroom. I have the cosmetology and the barbering one. We're going to be using the barber one today, but the cosmetology is filled out exactly the same. So up here at the top, we have your student number. This is where you're going to put your student identification number. If you do not know it, just go ahead and use the last 4 digits of your Social Security card. We've got a couple of things going on here. You have a space for the month and the year. Please make sure that you are notating both, as your guys' licenses are good for 2 years and we want you to be able to differentiate. So in our example, we're going to have August of 2021. You'll have a row right here with numbers from 1 through 31. These are going to represent the days of the month. My suggestion is for you to pull out a calendar and go ahead and label the days of the month at the top. So we have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it starts again. This is going to help because when you guys are filling these out, you will only get credit for 5 days per week. You're not going to get credit for Sundays, and you're not going to get credit for your school days, which are Mondays. So what I suggest is, again, labeling the top with the days of the week so that then we can go through and block them out somehow. I'm doing this digitally, so all I've done is filled the cell with black. If you're doing these by hand or handwritten out, you can use a Sharpie, you can cross them out, markers, whatever your little heart desires. But we want to make sure that we're crossing out Sundays and Mondays so that we're not giving ourselves credit for days that we're not allowed to get credit for. Over here, we have the procedures. So you'll notice that I have some highlighting going on, and this is just to make it easier when we get to having to add everything together. So every procedure, for the most part, is going to have 2 rows. The top row is going to represent the number of clients that you've worked on. The bottom row is going to represent the number of hours it took you to perform those services. Now, for the most part, these numbers match up. So you'll notice we have 1,500 clients and 1,500 hours when it comes to our haircut and styles. Please keep it this way. It makes it so much easier when you guys are adding things together if we just keep it a 1-to-1 ratio. I do understand that some of you guys are a little bit quicker when it comes to some services, but for the sake of simplification and making sure that you guys are filling these out the easiest way possible, keep it 1-to-1. So 1 haircut, 1 hour, 1 shave, 1 hour, so on and so forth. Over here at the bottom, you'll notice I have some highlighted in green. These colors are differentiated in the variations of this on Google Classroom as well, so don't worry. But the ones highlighted in green are going to be things that you are only tracking hours for. You'll notice there is no number for clientele over here. It's just hours. Now you guys can get a maximum of 8.5 hours per day, and these procedures or these hours are going to be where I would say to track that half hour. Don't put it in any of these yellow procedures because it will throw your count off. At the bottom, we have our total. So you'll see that by the end of your program, you need to have 3,200 hours. And again, we can get 8.5 hours per day. So my suggestion to make this easy is when you guys are going to fill this out, go ahead and put 8.5 at the bottom because that's your maximum. Now we're going to go through and we're going to fill this out. So you'll see all these numbers here. It's fine. I'm going to make it make sense. So what we're going to do is we have our overall goal of hitting 8.5 hours. We're going to go and we're going to track the procedures that we have done throughout the day. So let's say I did 3 haircuts. And again, we're going by that 1-to-1 rule. So it took me 3 hours. I now have tracked 3 hours for that day out of 8.5. Now, I don't want you guys to get confused because a lot of people will take these 2 threes or these 2 numbers right here and they'll add them together. That is not what we're doing. Okay, you don't have 6 hours. You only have 3 because we did 3 clients and it took us 3 hours. So now we have 5.5 hours left to fill out the rest of our day. Let's say I did 2 shaves and it took me 2 hours. So now I have 3 plus 2, which gives me 5. I have room for 3.5 more hours to get to my 8.5 goal for the day. So I'm going to continue going ahead and filling it out until I have reached my 8.5. And I'm going to go ahead and check that. If you're filling this out digitally using numbers or Excel, whatever program, you're just going to select the cells, look at the sum at the bottom. I have 8.5. I'm good. And I'm going to go ahead and continue filling that out for the rest of this whole month. Now we're going to go ahead and deal with our little monthly column over here. Your monthly column is just tracking the total amount of each procedure or each hours that you have completed for whatever month you are working. Everything is going to get added across into our monthly column. So I'm going to take all of my client numbers and I'm going to add those together, and I'm going to place that total in the monthly row. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my hours, add everything up. It's going to go in the monthly row. Now, for the most part, again, these numbers in yellow should match because we're doing one-to-one. I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to take however many hours I've got, add everything together for the entire month, and put that total in the monthly column. Once I've done that, I need to add up and see how many total monthly hours I have completed. Now, everything gets added across, however, only hours are going to get added down. That's why we have these highlighted rows. We're only going to add the highlighted rows down to get to our monthly total. Very similarly to how we only added the highlighted rows down to get to our 8.5. Now, if we've been tracking 8.5 hours per day, this should be relatively easy. You kind of have a built-in cross-check for yourself. You can take these 8.5s, add them together, and it's going to tell you what that value should be. Now, whatever this value is should be what we get when we add all the highlighted rows going down. If it's not, then you need to go back and check your math, okay? I would start with checking that we added everything in the column correctly. If we did and we're still running into a disambiguation, then we need to check our addition whenever we're going through and filling out our little rows, okay? Now for your very first OJT, all we're gonna have is a monthly, right? So we're gonna take our total, which is 178.5, and we're gonna put it where it says total monthly. You also have a section for grand total. For your first OJT only, your total monthly and your grand total is going to be the same. You'll notice over here that we also have a class column. We're not gonna deal with this. We do not track your guys' class hours this way, but we are gonna deal with the accumulated column. Accumulated column is going to be a means for you guys to track your running totals. So this is everything that you have accumulated thus far, or your running totals of everything. For your very first OJT form, you will not have an accumulated column because we haven't accumulated anything yet. I'm going to say that again. Your very first OJT, we will not have anything in the accumulated column because we haven't done anything yet. This is our very first time, okay? This is going to be the only one that will not have an accumulated value. So once again, we're going to add our monthly. We have our total monthly hours. You have your grand total. Let's go ahead and move on to the second OJT. The first three are going to be the trickiest, and then everything after that is very easy. So for my second OJT, I'm going to fill everything out the same. I'm going to put my student number. I'm going to put the month that I'm working on, the year that I'm working on. I'm going to go ahead and fill out my days of the week, block out my Sundays and Mondays. And now the other thing that we need to pay attention to are federal holidays. You will not receive credit for a federally observed holiday. My suggestion is when you block that out, either do it in a highlighter or a different color, have some sort of key, make a note, or write what you're blocking it off for. In this case, we blocked off Labor Day because we cannot get credit for days that we should not be open. The general rule of thumb is if the bank and post office is closed, you should be closed as well. You guys can Google for the federally observed holidays, just type in federal holidays for whatever year you're trying to find them for, and then plan accordingly in your OJT forms. So once again, I'm just going to go through and give myself the 8.5s at the bottom, and then I fill in the blanks. 3 haircuts, 3 hours, 2 shaves, 2 hours, 1.5, 1, 1, boom, I hit 8.5. And I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of the days of the month. Just like last time, I'm going to add everything across. I'm going to add just my hours, so just my highlighted rows down, cross-check everything to make sure. And in this case, I've gotten 161.5 for the month. Okay. My accumulated, on the other hand, okay, since this is our second OJT form, we have accumulated. And what we've accumulated was whatever we did last month. So for your second OJT only, this is only the second OJT form that we fill out, we're going to go back to our very first one, and we're going to take that monthly column and carry it over into the accumulated column. Do you guys see how these numbers match? 95, 10, 12, 16, 0, 4, 4, okay? And we have that pulled from our very first OJT form. So we're going to carry that over to our accumulated column because this is what we've already done. This is our running total. And again, your monthly column is just tracking what was done for that specific month. So 161.5 was what my monthly total was. And now to get my grand total, I'm going to take my monthly total and I'm going to add it to my accumulated total. And that's going to give me what my grand total is. And in this case, it is, going to be 340. So where it says grand total, I'm going to go ahead and plug in 340. Again, that accumulated is for your second OJT only. Now let's go ahead and move into our third OJT sheet. Now, the way that we do the third OJT is going to be the way that we do every OJT moving forward. Again, the first three are going to be the trickiest, but once we get to the third one, everything is going to be the same. So I'm still filling out my month, my year, my days of the week. I'm still going through and giving myself my 8.5 hours, making sure I block off my Sundays, my Mondays, and any federally observed holidays, plugging my numbers in. Everything gets added across. Only my hours get added down, so only my highlighted, and in this case, we had 178.5 hours. I'm going to carry that down to where it says monthly, and then I'm going to work on my accumulated. So to get the accumulated column for your third OJT and every OJT moving forward, I'm going to go back to my previous. I'm going to look at my monthly column and I'm going to look at my accumulated column. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them together. So 86 plus 95, right? I'm going to add that together. That's going to give me a sum of 181. So I'm going to go to my accumulated column and I'm going to plug 181 in for haircuts and styles because that's what I've added. I'm going to go back to my previous and now I have 8 plus 10 for my shaves. I'm going to go to OJT number 3. 8 plus 10 is going to give me a value of 18. So what we're doing is we're taking these values from the monthly, we're adding them to the values to the accumulated, and whatever the sum is going to be what the accumulated is for that row. I'm going to do that all throughout, and then I'll have my monthly total, and then I'll have a total accumulated. So I can add these values. They should equal whatever your previous grand total was because again, your accumulated column is just a running total, keeping track of everything that you've done for each procedure thus far. I'm going to add my total monthly to my total accumulated, and that's going to give me my grand total, which is going to be my new running total. And that's going to be how you do every single OJT moving forward. We're going to take the previous month or the previous month's monthly column, add it to the previous accumulated column, whatever those values are, is going to be what your accumulated is. So if I were going to move to my fourth OJT and I was trying to get the accumulated values for my haircuts, I would take 95 and I would add it to my 181 and I would get 276, which would be the number that I would plug into the accumulated column for the next month, which in this case would be if I were going to do November of 2021. And I'm going to continue doing that. Now, it's worth noting that these numbers here, they are not optional. These are the minimum requirement for the state of California. What I want you guys to understand is once you've completed whatever the assigned value is, please stop tracking them. You are not going to get extra credit for doing extra of that service. You need to complete the minimum requirement for all procedures listed here. It's not going to negate, like for example, if I do 2,000 haircuts and styles, it's not going to make up for any of the shampoo, scalp manipulations, or hair weaving and curling. You're not going to get to negate that. You still have to do the minimum requirement per the state of California. So what I suggest is once you've gotten to whatever the minimum value is, stop tracking it. Okay. For example, by October, I've completed my minimum requirement of 20 for health and safety. I have 21. I can stop tracking that. So on my next OJT, I know do not give yourself anything in health and safety because you've already hit the minimum requirement. Start putting those hours in elsewhere. Okay. These are to be turned into the office every month. So for example, I would turn in my October OJTs at the beginning of November. These are going to go to the office. Please make sure you print and sign your name, put your student number on there, make sure your trainer signs, make sure everything is good to go. These do have to be kept up to date, because you should have all of your OJTs with you when you were in the shop, because state board can come in and ask to see them. If they are not up to date, you can get a fine for that. So please make sure you guys are keeping up with this. My suggestion is to just give yourself the 8.5, and then at the end of every day, just fill it out. Okay, make your life easy. Don't sit there and wait and let that build up. Okay, I hope this has helped. So let's just go ahead and give a recap of this accumulated situation. Remember, first OJT, you will not have an accumulation. Second OJT, we're taking the monthly column from the previous month and we're plugging it into the accumulated. OJT number 3 and moving forward, we're going to take the previous monthly column, add it to the previous accumulated column, and whatever those values are will be what you plug in to the current month's accumulated column. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I hope this helps, and I will be posting this so that you guys can always reference it just in case. Okay? Have a good one, guys.